Steady. The mass of Sicilian warriors was 300 yards away, coming at a dead run. Sunlight blinked off their metal, although for most of them that was only a spearhead or a knife. The sound of their feet and screaming war cries drummed in his ears. 4 chariots came ahead of the pack, with chieftains dressed in armor much like the Mycenaeans. Speaking of which, Walker murmured to himself. Most of the Achaean host was still down by the ships. He glanced back over his shoulder and made a small sound. Getting their precious GGs and dog carts out, he thought. Odysseus was beside him, leaning on an old-fashioned figure-8 cowhide shield, nearly as tall as he was, with his Ithacans behind him. The tall horsehair plume of his helmet bobbed over his head. The protection was rows of bones sawn from boar's tusks, sewn onto a thick boiled leather backing. He was wearing a chain-mail shirt under that, though, not the cumbersome affair of bronze plates that was the native equivalent. The Greek hawked dust from his throat, squinted, and spat. "I hope your savior God inspires you," he said calmly. His armsmen were shifting in place, wiping their palms on their tunics for a better grip on their spear shafts. "There are about 4,000 of them, and only 600 here ready to fight." "Let me show you," Walker said. Bright boy, this one. Steady nerves, too. He turned to his own men, 400 of them, spaced in blocks 2 ranks deep between the 6 field guns. "Ready," he said, his voice clear but carrying. The front rank knelt. The second leveled their muskets and thumbed back the hammers, a ripple of motion like the spines of a hedgehog bristling. "Aim! Gunners ready! Fire on the word of command!" The gunners skipped aside, holding the lanyards of their weapons. He judged the distance to the charging locals. 200 yards, over ground as near flat as no matter. The heights of Epipolae, that later would be the core of Syracuse, were ragged behind them. He drew his sword and raised it. "Fire!"